There's a moment in every room when someone walks in and the air changes. You feel it before you can explain it. Conversations soften, eyes drift toward them, people lean in a little without knowing why. And here's the strange part, that person isn't always the loudest. They're rarely the best dressed. Sometimes they're the quietest one in the corner. But something about them pulls people closer. You felt this before on the other side of it. Standing in a group that never quite opened up to let you in, wondering what those magnetic people know that you don't. Tonight, we're going to name it. Because the truth is, magnetic people aren't born different. They just do a handful of small things the rest of us miss. And once you see them, you can't unsee them. I want to give you one you can use tonight, before we go deep. When someone speaks to you, let your face react before your words do. A softer eye, a small smile, a slight nod. That tiny beat of reaction is the whole secret in miniature. Because charisma, at its core, is not a performance. It's the feeling of being truly received by another human being. Stay with me, because the last shift I'll share is the one almost nobody uses, and it changes everything. Let's start with the biggest myth in the room. Most people believe charisma is about being interesting. So they rehearse stories, sharpen jokes, and try to sound impressive. But the naturally magnetic ones flip that on its head. They don't try to be interesting. They try to be interested. There's a huge difference, and you can feel it instantly. When you're around someone performing to impress you, you feel watched. When you're around someone genuinely curious about you, you feel seen. And being seen is one of the rarest gifts in modern life. Think about the last person who made you feel that way. I'd bet they didn't dazzle you with facts or clever lines. They just asked something a little deeper than expected. And then they actually listened to your answer. That's the first secret. Magnetic people treat curiosity like a superpower, not small talk. They ask questions that gently open a door. Not, what do you do, but what part of your work do you actually enjoy? Not, how was your weekend, but what was the best moment of it? Small shifts, huge difference. Here's the simple move you can steal. In your next conversation, ask one question that goes one layer deeper than normal. Then stay quiet long enough for a real answer. That single pause is where connection lives. Now, here's something almost nobody tells you about charisma. It has less to do with your mouth and more to do with your face. Watch a magnetic person the next time you're near one. Their expression is alive. Their eyebrows move. Their eyes narrow with interest. They laugh with their whole face. They react, and that reaction gives the other person permission to keep going. Most of us, without realizing it, wear a neutral mask in conversation. We think we're being polite, or cool, or composed, but to the person talking it can feel like speaking into a mirror. Nothing bounces back, so they shrink. They wrap up early. They walk away thinking the chat was fine, but flat. Magnetic people flip that. They give micro-reactions the way a good audience gives applause. A small, oh really, a widened eye, a warm laugh at the right beat. None of it is fake. They're just letting what they actually feel show on their face. That's the shift. Charisma isn't about controlling your expression. It's about uncontrolling it. Just a little, letting your real reactions land where the other person can see them. Try this tomorrow. For one whole day, let your face respond half a second earlier than usual. You'll be shocked at how differently people talk to you. Now let's talk about presence, because this is where most advice gets it wrong. Presence isn't standing tall or holding eye contact until it feels like a stare down. Presence is the feeling that, right now, nothing else in the room matters more than the person in front of you. That's it. That's the whole thing. And you can't fake it, because people can smell distraction from a mile away. They can feel you scanning the room over their shoulder. They can feel you already writing your reply while they're still speaking. They can feel your phone tugging at your attention from your pocket. Naturally, magnetic people don't split their attention. When they're with you, they're with you. For 30 seconds, 3 minutes, or 3 hours. However long the conversation lasts, they're in it. Here's the tiny move that changes everything. Before you speak to someone, take a slow breath and drop your shoulders. That one breath tells your nervous system, I'm here now. And people feel that shift immediately. You don't have to say anything different. You just have to be more here than you were a second ago. If you're the quiet one in the group, this next part is especially for you. Because there's a myth that charisma belongs to extroverts, that the loudest voice wins the room. That's simply not true, and every magnetic introvert on Earth proves it. Quiet people can be some of the most magnetic humans you'll ever meet. Their secret is calm attention. They don't try to compete for airtime. They wait, they listen, and when they speak, people actually turn toward them. Because their words aren't scattered across the whole conversation. They arrive with weight. If that's you, don't try to be louder. Try to be more present, more curious, more warm. That's your version of magnetic, and it's just as powerful. Now here's a reframe that took me a long time to understand. Charisma is not confidence. Let me say that again, because it changes everything. Charisma is not confidence. You can be confident and still cold. You can be confident and still exhausting to be around. Confidence is about you. Charisma is about how you make other people feel about themselves. That's why the most magnetic person you know might not be the most confident. They might be a little shy, a little humble, a little unsure. But when they turn toward you, you feel taller. You feel funnier. You feel like the best version of yourself. That's the real trick. Naturally magnetic people are mirrors that reflect people at their best. They laugh at your jokes a little louder than expected. They remember something small you said last month. They introduce you to the group by naming something you're great at. They lift, and people never forget how it feels to be lifted. Here's a small habit you can steal starting today. When you introduce a friend to someone new, add one warm detail about them. This is Maya. She tells the best stories. This is Jordan. He's the reason I got into hiking. That one sentence lights people up. And it costs you nothing. Let's slow down for a moment, because there's a deeper truth underneath all of this. Magnetic people are not chasing likability. That's the paradox. The harder you chase being liked, the more you push it away, because chasing it makes you tense, performative, and slightly off. People can feel the reaching. They may not name it, but they feel it, and they step back. The naturally magnetic ones have quietly let go of that chase. They still care about people, deeply. But they've stopped auditioning for approval, and that freedom is exactly what pulls people in. So here's the shift. Stop trying to be liked. Start trying to be kind. Because kindness doesn't depend on the other person's reaction. Kindness is something you offer, not something you win. And people are drawn to those who give without keeping score. Speaking of giving, let's talk about the way magnetic people use their voice. Not what they say, but how they say it. Most of us, when we get a little nervous, speak faster. Our voice climbs, our sentences squish together, and we rush to fill the silence. Magnetic people go the other direction. They slow down. Their pace gives their words a kind of quiet gravity. They pause where most people rush. They let a sentence land before starting the next one. That pause isn't awkward. It's spacious. It tells the room, I'm not in a hurry and I trust what I just said. You can practice this anywhere. Next time you tell a short story, add one deliberate pause after the most important line. Just one beat of silence. Watch how the room leans in. Now here's the piece almost no one talks about. Magnetic people are surprisingly generous with warmth toward strangers. The waiter, the barista, the person holding the elevator. They treat them exactly the way they treat their best friend. Same eye contact, same smile, same tone. And people notice, because how you treat someone who can do nothing for you is the truest signal of who you are. It quietly tells everyone watching, this person is safe. That safety is magnetic. We move toward people who feel safe the way plants move toward light. So if you want a shortcut, be the person who lights up when the server walks over. Be the one who remembers the doorman's name. Be the one whose warmth doesn't depend on status. That single habit will change how people describe you when you're not in the room. If you felt any of this hit close to home, you're not alone. Tell me your story in the comments because I read them. I want to know which of these you're going to try this week. Alright, here's another shift most people miss. Magnetic people are not afraid of silence. They don't panic when a conversation dips. They don't jump in to rescue every quiet moment, because they know something the rest of us forget. Silence isn't the end of a conversation. Silence is often where the best part is about to begin. When you don't rush to fill it, the other person often shares something more real, something they wouldn't have said in a fast-moving chat. Silence is an invitation. Learn to let it sit for 2 extra seconds. You'll be amazed at what people offer when you don't crowd them. Now let's zoom into eye contact, because it's the most misunderstood part of charisma. Advice online often says, hold strong eye contact. But strong eye contact without warmth just feels intense, even a little threatening. Magnetic eye contact isn't strong, it's soft. It's the look you give someone you already care about. It says, I see you and I'm glad you're here. You can practice it by imagining the person in front of you is a close friend you haven't seen in years. That single thought changes your entire face. Your eyes soften, your shoulders drop, your smile shows up on its own. You don't need a trick, you just need a small internal shift, and people feel it every single time. Here's a fresh angle that surprises most people. Magnetic people are often funny, but not in the way you'd expect. They're not stand-up comedians. They're not the person waiting to drop a punchline. Their humor is light, playful, and mostly aimed at themselves. They tease their own quirks before anyone else can. They laugh easily at other people's jokes, even the mediocre ones. And that generosity of laughter is its own kind of charm. If humor doesn't come naturally to you, don't force it. Just be someone who laughs generously at other people's attempts. That alone will make the room feel warmer around you. Now we're getting close to the shift I promised you at the beginning, the one almost no one uses. Before I share it, notice something. Everything we've talked about tonight has one thing in common. None of it is about impressing anyone. Not the questions, not the reactions, not the warmth, not the pauses. All of it is about the other person, not you. That's the real pattern behind charisma. Magnetic people take the spotlight off themselves and shine it on whoever is in front of them. And here's the twist. The more you do that, the more the spotlight quietly comes back to you. Not because you chased it, but because you gave it away. Okay, here's the final shift, the one that most people never make. Magnetic people believe, deep down, that everyone they meet has something worth discovering. Not a polite belief, not a performance of open-mindedness, a real, quiet certainty that the person in front of them is interesting somewhere, and it's their job to find that somewhere. That belief changes everything about how they show up. They stop scanning people to decide if they're worth their time. They stop renting rooms into important and unimportant humans. They walk in expecting to be delighted, and that expectation is contagious. People feel it the second you turn toward them. They feel that you're not evaluating them. You're curious about them. And curiosity, real curiosity, is one of the most attractive qualities on earth. So this week, try something small but powerful. Walk into your next social moment with one quiet thought. There's something interesting about this person, and I get to find it. That's it. Not a script, not a technique, just a lens. Wear that lens for a week, and I promise your conversations will change. Your energy will change. The way people describe you will change, because you'll stop being someone who wants to be liked, and you'll start being someone who makes other people feel likable. That is the whole game. That is what naturally magnetic people have quietly figured out. None of this requires a new personality. You don't have to become louder, funnier, or more polished. You just have to turn your attention outward and let your warmth show. If this landed for you, do me a small favor before you go. Give the video a like so more quiet, thoughtful people find it. Subscribe if you want more of these deep dives into real, kind charisma. And leave a comment with the one shift you're going to try first. I'll be down there reading, and I'll write back to as many as I can. Thank you for spending this time with me tonight. You already have everything you need to be magnetic. You just needed someone to point at it. Now go be the person who makes the room feel a little warmer. Because trust me, we all need more of those. I'll see you in the next one.